Pneumonia, but some people say, well, these days is a thin line. We're Nigerian for time to get into the conversation this morning. Yeah, Nigeria has its own challenges, and some people are, hoping, praying, waiting, talking, and hoping that some of the challenges we face will have an expiry date. When? No one knows. Stay tuned.
This is the Morning Crossfire on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
My name is Analyst, and this is where we have the region's biggest conversation. It is a Monday. Achike Chude joins me on the phone, and we will be focusing on the various lingering issues facing Nigeria and the federal government's response to them. That's the focus this morning. For those who may not know, the Nigerian Medical Association issued a 21-day ultimatum over the weekend, saying that if you do not fix the issues with the resident doctors, then we will join the strike in 21 days. Well, we will call a meeting, which, and then the federal government responds and says, no, we're not going to agree. We have a medical crisis right now. And then there's the matter of, the killings across the country, especially in the north. Last week, the governor of Zamfara State, Wale, said that there should be a state of emergency declared in northern Nigeria. Then at Jos, for example, there's a curfew, and even within the curfew, there were some killings, and all is not well in Jos. School children have been kidnapped, and some returned over the weekend. That too, We're Nigerian info. Good morning, Achike. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, good morning, Anna.
How are you?
I'm very fine, thank you.
How's it looking in Lagos this morning?
Lagos is calm. Lagos is, we are not in Lagos. Lagos is one of the calmest places in, one of the most secure, safest place in Nigeria. But that is not to say that Lagos does not have its criminal challenges, because you still have, people robbing motorists on the streets, on especially the highways. So that is a major problem. But some policemen have been deployed along the major strategic routes in Lagos. But still, there are also security challenges, though far better than what is happening in other parts of the country, especially the northern part and maybe part of the south or southeast. Okay, so let's start from the northern part, which, over the years, it's getting worse, even though the military time after time say that they've taken a hold of this place, they're making progress, How do you respond to the federal government's response to these matters? Look, the government has lost control of the security situation in this country. And I doubt if you do a survey of I want to believe that as much as 75 to 80% of Nigerians who are informed will tell you that the government does not have what it takes. There is no institution that has not been attacked in the country in the past 6 years. Before then, we had the bombings in Abuja. Now the NDA has been attacked, military bases have been attacked, soldiers killed, and all that. And then you don't see the kind of resources that was expended in the southeast, for instance, and even the kind of resources and rhetoric that was used in hounding Igboho being deployed. Yes, I know that there have been military engagements in the north, but the brazen manner with which some of these people commit atrocities, the kidnap of school children, hundreds at a time, they continue unabatedly. And so there is no way anybody can sit down and say, look, the government is trying its best. Its best is simply not enough. And I think it's just, it has gone beyond that. The government has failed to keep this country secure. Don't forget that not too long ago, the president tried to shift the blame to the governors. The governors do not have the means to secure their people through purchases of weapons and so on. You cannot fight people wielding AK-47 with bows and arrows. That is the problem that we're having in Plateau State, most especially. The governor at the time told the citizens of Benin to arm themselves. And there was an immediate directive from the federal government that anybody found with arms would be dealt with, seriously. So what it means is that the citizens are on their own. And we have had this discussion several times when you asked me what I felt the solution should be. And I said communities must be encouraged to be armed. And then even if the government is worried about them misusing these arms, let them deploy soldiers and policemen with embed them within the civilian populace, so that the personnel that the Nigerian army or Nigerian police lack will be added to by the recruitment of civilians whose duty will be to defend their own homes, to defend their own wives, to defend their own children. People who have such necessity to defend their own loved ones will fight much harder than people who are coming from other places to fight on their behalf. So the men, the youth will come out and fight to the death to protect their homeland and to protect their loved ones, much more than maybe the police or police people that are deployed. But that is the only way, because the security agents say they don't have enough people, and they don't have. So the governor should be encouraged also to be more involved in the process of protecting themselves and not wait for the federal authorities, because obviously the federal authorities have lost control. And you cannot continue to leave people to the whims and caprices of these very dangerous people. It is only some of us are a little bit more relaxed about it because it hasn't happened to our own wives. It hasn't happened to our own children, our grandfathers, the older people in our various localities. Then you will know how serious it is if the same fate befalls us. But we pray that it does not.
All right, so people in Jos, what would they be doing at this time? Would they still be praying that it doesn't?
I don't know. A lot of them will, of course, will have to rely on prayers. If man will not defend you, perhaps God will defend you. But the highest God's going to do that. He's not going to do that on his own. He's going to do that using human instruments who make themselves available. So it's a catch-22 situation. If you defend yourself, there's a possibility, if you have enough weaponry, adequate weapon to defend yourself, there's a possibility you will keep yourself safe. If you don't defend yourself, you will surely die. So the possibility is better than the impossibility, than the certainty. The certainty is that you will surely die if you don't defend yourself. The possibility is that if you defend yourself, you might survive it. So the possibility is surely better than the certainty. But it appears that President Buhari and his government prefer the certainty that Nigerians must surely die on their beds because they cannot protect themselves. Because that's the only way I can read what is going on in the country.
So what end,
and that
really?
is the only way.
To what end, really?
Sorry?
I said, to what end? You just said that, people are going to...
No, I don't know. I don't know. You see, I'm getting a little bit confused. This is not about analysis anymore. This has gone beyond analysis. We need to save lives in the country. I mean, the over 350 people in the Northeast alone, in the past 12 years of the insurgency, about 350,000 people have been killed. Many of them children. About 60% of those killed are children. And then you're not just talking the turn of the Northeast. You've not gone to the Northwest, especially since the bandits and the other people joined the fray. The Sultan of Sokoto has been talking about a more different strain of insurgents and armed, violent people coming into the country, especially the North. Now, Matawale, from what you read out, the newspaper caption you read out, is saying that a state of emergency should be imposed on the North. So people have taken this thing too lightly for so long. And again, you cannot help but blame northern politicians and the elites. They allow this thing spread for so long. Because if you look at the danger that Nigeria is facing, the insecurity Nigeria is facing, the weakest link in the country right now is the north of Nigeria. This is where most of the aggression, most of the violence is coming from. And it is in the north of Nigeria that you find serious socioeconomic problems that are bringing this thing about. It is in the north of Nigeria that you have the greatest out-of-number children in the country. It is there that you have the greatest number of illiterate people in the country. So we know that what we are doing is that what we are reading what has been sown over the years. And local politicians, instead of the rhetorics and so on, some of them have earned more money in terms of local government because of the structure of the Nigerian state, which seems to favor them in terms of revenues and the rest, like Kano State, for instance, that was divided into two, Jigawa and Kano, having the same number of population before. Now, immediately that happened, more local governments were given to Kano State, and then more local governments were given to Jigawa. All of these things attracted money. So what am I trying to say? that somehow they have not. And I'm not exonerating Southern political leaders at all. You know, I will not do that because they themselves have not, been able to live above board. But the crisis in the North is far worse because the leadership there has been far more negligent, over their people. And so for a little bit of maybe 5,000, we have heard that some of like Boko Haram recruits, some of them earn as low as 5,000 naira, and they will kill people and they will maim. So the president, doesn't seem to get it, or he doesn't seem to care. Look, believe me, it is with pain that I say this. The president doesn't seem to get it, or his officials are not giving, his security people are not giving the right information, or if they are giving the information, he doesn't seem to care. And one of the statements, what's his name, Otom of Benue State made, Governor Otom of Benue State made. I know he was asked on one of the TV stations, had you spoken with the president specifically about what is going on? And the feelings of the Benue people, he said, yes, he has. What is the president's response? He says the president is saying that there will not be peace in the country unless the grazing routes are allowed to come into play. Now, the issue, and I hope that it is not true, I hope the Governor Tom is wrong, because if it is right, then it will be worrisome, because in another interview he had earlier said previously that he has instructed his Attorney General to go back to the grazing routes of the 60s.
Yes.
The old grazing routes in the country. And lawyers came out and said, look, he doesn't seem to know what he's talking about, and that the people advising him, giving legal advice, and not giving the right advice, because states' lands, according to the Land Use Act, belong to state governors.
Yes.
Now, so you can't go back there. And besides, the issue of grazing, open grazing has been settled since. The local governors took a decision in February this year, reiterated the decision about 2 months ago, that open grazing is not the way to go, that it is archaic. So it is modern ranching. The Southern governors, of course, have also made the same statement. The Northern Elders Forum have also made the same statement. So for the president in the past few days to talk about the same open grazing, setting up a committee to look for the old grazing routes, statement tells you that the president is more than a participant in what is going on from what is happening. So he's in a position to put a stop to some of this. I hope that I'm wrong about the president. I hope that people are just misreading him, but he needs to tune in with the signs of the times so that he can begin, because people still look up to him to do something about what's going on in this country, the insecurity.
Achike, at some point, they used to use the word the cabal, that the cabal is responsible for, so where does the cabal fall in at this point? Or we don't have the cabal?
You see, you would always have cabals. It depends on how you define cabals. You understand? If it's about a particular group of people that are very strategic to a particular person who give him advice on what they think he should do, what is best for the office he occupies, what and all that, you can call it a cabal, because obviously the president would listen to such people. They are his close friends. He trusts them more than he trusts any other person. So from that perspective, yes, it could become, we could say that there's a cabal. But cabal, might not necessarily mean something that is bad. In Nigeria, we associate it with all things bad because of the way our polity and our politics have turned out. You could have cabals, the inner workings of a good government. You have a particular set of people that give advice to such a government. For instance, you talk about Rwanda. With Paul Kagame there. Paul Kagame is not doing everything he's doing on his own. He's working through people. So I want to believe that he has an inner sanctum of people who give him advice. And what is the outcome of the advice? Rwanda is working well. Therefore, the cabal that is behind the president of Rwanda must be a good cabal. They are doing well. So it is from that perspective that we have to, look at it. So who are the people behind the president? But whether we have a cabal or not, I've reminded you one time like that the Babangida, after he annulled the June 12th election, he said he made allusions to the existence of a cabal. And he said that if Abiola had been elected president, there would have been a coup or whatever. So the president, Babangida, knew that there were people who were not happy with the Abiola election, whether it was free or fair or not. But what did he do? So you could call that group of people a cabal. So Bangida said, regardless of that the ball stops at his table, the buck stops at his table. He will take responsibility because he's the president. So the president of this country, whether there's a cabal or not, must take responsibility because the constitution gives him that responsibility and obligation to keep Nigeria safe more than any other person. Because he's the only one that is in control of the armed forces. He's the only one in control of all the paramilitary units in the country. Nobody, no governor.
All right, Achike, let's pause here. Commercial will play, then we'll come back with the matter of the doctors' strike, prolonged strike. They started in July and we're still here.
All right.
All right, the commercial, and we keep talking. We're Nigerian for Port Harcourt. Stay tuned. And the focus this morning is on the FG's response to some, matters. Security, of course, being the first, the last, and everything. Plateau State, it's not going well. Zamfara, Kaduna, Jos. Yeah, particularly Jos and Plateau State. We'll keep talking. Stay tuned.
This is the Morning Crossfire on 92.3 Nigeria Info.
We're Nigeria Info, and the lines are open now. 0817-923-0002, 0817-923-0003, 0817-923-0009. You have contributions to make, you have questions to ask. This is the time to do so. Achike Chude is back on the phone, and we will move now to what is happening in the medical sector. But if your calls come through, I'll take them. All right, someone is on the phone. Let's see. Good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, this is Mr. Paul calling from GRA.
We're listening.
Yeah. So I want to ask Mr. Achike a question because, you know, in Nigeria here, the only challenge we have here is saying the truth. And once you say the truth, one senator said that if you say the truth, you die. And if you didn't say it, you also die. What the man analyzed this morning is the state of Nigeria, and that is how it is. And the only thing I'm advising him that because in Nigeria, when you say the truth, they will come for you. So I pray for him that the Almighty Creator himself will protect him for saying the truth. Thank you.
Okay. Achike.
Yes, I can hear you. Well, I appreciate the expressions of concern by the last speaker. I'm also grateful for prayers and all that. But you know that we all need prayers. Look, I'm in a WhatsApp group. Yesterday night I looked at the group, and then somebody was saying, and the person is supposed to be a security expert, but he was saying that we need to take our time to pray for the country, and I agreed. Look, it's not about good people dying in Nigeria now. I mean, it's about its critics, you know, who want to say the truth dying. It's also about every single one of us dying, you know, and that's why they said that when good men keep quiet, then tyranny is allowed to flourish. Somewhere along the line, we must be able to say, no, this thing, there must be an end point. Because everything that has a beginning has an end. Evil itself also has an expiry shelf life. You know, so I want to believe that it will be well with this country, but it's not going to be well unless human beings play their part. So I appreciate the prayers and the expressions of goodwill and all that. But we should know that the danger is not to just people like us who we want to say it as it is, but it is to every single person. Those who are sitting on the fence, those who are keeping quiet and all that. But we need to do more prayers. We need to keep on talking and hope that, you know, the Spirit of God or whatever it is that these people fear or respect will touch them to know that this country cannot continue along this path. You know, there's been too much blood shed in this country, blood of innocent people, blood of people who are not even involved in the politics of this country. We can't continue like this.
All right. Chris is on the phone. Chris, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, I thank your guest. And let me say something. And we should not mock God. Bible says if you know what is good and you refuse to do it, it's a sin. If you know that Obi did this thing or Obi did that thing and you refuse to say it and you are going to mountain to pray to God for God to forgive Obi, I don't think that prayer will be answered. We should tell ourselves the truth. My very self here, because of something that I reviewed, that I know that is truth, you know that I've been blocked not less than 10 times for saying truth. So how on earth again do you want? And at the end, every time people will say, if you see something, say something. How can you say something when the one that they already said, they are blocking you, they are doing all manner of things because of, see, truth. The only truth will set this country free, not prayer.
All right, thank you. Justice is not Mudioga. Justice, good morning.
Yes, Madam Eno, good morning.
Yeah, let's hear you.
I want to thank your guest for speaking out the way it should be. I must tell you the truth. The federal government has not done very well in responding to national issues, especially the issue of security. Every day we hear on the news of people dying, we hear of news of terrorism attack, and we hear on the news of people being killed. And when it happens, the federal government will tell you we are doing this, we are doing that. They will keep telling you, they will keep giving promises. And in the midst of that, people will still die. In the midst of that, people will keep being attacked, as if the government is not doing anything. Let me use this opportunity to plead that whatever the federal government is doing to fight security in this country, what we need is evidence. What we need is evidence. We don't want promise again. People being killed, people dying does not present Nigeria on a very good path on the international community. They are not doing very well. The government should redouble its effort in fighting security.
All right, thank you. We have good luck. Then Chima, then we do messages. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, Sister Eno. My say this morning is, by God's grace, the country will be good. But first and foremost, the government of very state in Nigeria should put their thing up, because they are the problem of all these things that is happening in this country. Because insecurity is that it's also that can cause all these problems. Like Mr. President is trying to ensure that we are liberated from this absolute poverty, but governors continue to embezzle what is meant for the people. So they should put their thinking out as the major problem. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Chima.
Good morning, Eno.
Good morning.
Yes, Eno, let me appreciate your guest. And I think the problem we have here, everything now is left in the hand of the federal at the center. Now, most attention is focusing on the center. Them leaving the governors. This will they collect security votes. So what are they doing about their own security? To be able to, put up some measures to secure their people. You understand?
All right.
With what we have in our constitution, yes, we know that security lies federal government, but this is they collect security votes. They have people who secure them, so then they go with a very long, a very number of security. So why wouldn't they protect their people?
All right, thank you.
Issue. So let's shift our attention not just only the federal. The state governors have a major role to play.
All right, thank you, Chima. Achike, respond to that, then we move to the other
matters.
matters.
I thought I had answered it in a way. There's no doubt that the governors have a role to play. Obviously, the Constitution says that calls them the chief security officer of the state. But we all know, and that is why people are talking about true federalism. That is why people are talking about, people are saying that you cannot continue to control what happens in a state all the way from Abuja. And we have maintained for a long time that the governor of a state cannot give instruction to the police commissioner without clearance from the Inspector General of Police, except if the instruction might not be of a political nature. If that instruction is of a political nature or involves certain dynamics that the center might not like, the Commissioner of Police has to get clearance. If from the Inspector General of Police, if the IG does not give him that clearance, he will not obey the instruction of the governor of the state. That is the way the federal system is skewed in Nigeria. It's heavily in favor when it comes to security, internal security, in favor of the federal government. So, and that is why people have been clamoring for state police. I agree that I think the clamor for state police has passed the second reading at the National Assembly. Once that happens, then the police, of course, that the police are mandated by law to carry weapons. If that does happen, and state police comes to be in Nigeria, then there is a great possibility that with states having security operatives that are armed, it will be easier for them to be able to stop any kind of infiltration into their territories. So this is what I expect. But as at the present moment, the only role that the governor can play is to expend. And I'm not saying that the governors have been expending their money judiciously, the security votes, because some of them have been abusing it also, and some of them have been stealing some of these monies. But there are state governors that have also done well in terms of procurement of materials and arms and vehicles for security in their states. Some of them have done that. Most of the brand new vehicles you see across most of the states in the country are not procured by the federal government. It is the state governors that are procuring these vehicles. So in a way they have done something, but it is not all. Because what is worth doing is worth doing well.
Right.
The other time when we were in Lagos, we were protesting the incessant killings or the continuous killings all over the country and the spilling of blood. And one of the one of the demands we made was that if the federal government, if state vigilante services are allowed to operate, then the government has, the state assemblies must enact laws that would ensure that they are armed, so that when they are confronting people with AK-47s, they themselves will be adequately armed. But of course, we know that federal law will not necessarily allow that to happen. So we need to change a few things before we can hold governors 100% responsible for security in their place. They are not even up to 50% responsible or 75% responsible for the security in their place, for as long as they cannot give instruction to the police to act in a particular manner.
All right, so let's go to this matter of health. Well, the health system, if there is such a thing. So the doctors have been on strike now since July. We are here now. We're ending August in another 24 hours or so. How do you respond to what the federal government has done? Initially, they started talking, and then they took the doctors to the industrial court. The doctor says, scratch that, we're not going to go back to work. And now they went into further meetings, and here over the weekend, we're hearing that the enemy has said that they will take action if the government doesn't do what they're supposed to do after 21 days. And then also there was the matter of a recruitment exercise going on last week that we hear that the DSS went to disrupt. Let's talk.
You see, we must not forget that this is the 5th strike, after the outbreak of COVID-19, an emergency period where all hands must be on deck to ensure that Nigeria is kept safe and Nigerians are kept safe. And then the doctors have to embark on strike 5 times. If you look at, on the surface, it would appear as if the doctors are irresponsible. But when you look at what is happening, you realize that the reason why the doctors are going on strike is to save healthcare infrastructure in the country. And otherwise, we will lose all of them. We just talked about the recruitment drive from a company, from an agency representing the authorities in Saudi Arabia asking for health personnel. Under normal circumstances, no government would allow that kind of situation to happen because you are depleting the nation of much needed essential health services. But a nation that treats its citizens badly, especially people that have to do with the welfare of the entire nation, a nation that treats them in this manner might be, one can say that they are a nation that do not deserve them. And so ultimately, we cannot win that battle against the doctors. Because what they now do, look, there's a survey not too long ago that out of every 10 Nigerian doctors, 8 want to leave. Is it that they want to leave because they don't want to serve in their country, that they don't want to treat their own citizens? They are living out of frustration, out of bitterness, that the country has not appreciated them enough. And I'm not saying the doctors are just the only one. You also have ASO threatening the same thing and all that. But these things continue to happen, and we know why it continues to happen. It continues to happen because the president has been out of this country for over 120 days since he became president in 2015. Because somebody like Tinubu, a major player in the all-ruling, People's Congress, APC, has been on treatment in the United Kingdom for a long time. Because governors from the PDP, governors from the APC, from all parts of the country, the elites, do not care a hoot about what happens to our medical infrastructure. That is why they are not equipped, because they do not need them. Well, let us keep on saying it as it is. They do not need this health infrastructure. It is for us, the ordinary people. So whether you have a dialysis machine in place, or you have a machine that scans for cancer in place, or it does not exist and so on, we are left on our own. And I will say almost authoritatively that about 70% of the deaths that we have in our hospitals today in Nigeria are preventable. You hear of carelessness and all that. Doctors are overworked. Look, the WHO mandate, the World Health Organization prescription for doctor-to-patient ratio is 1 doctor to 100 citizens. In Nigeria, it is 1 doctor to 5,000, 6,000 citizens, patients. How can that work? And then the very few ones that are left, the government wants to hound them out of this country. Look, if the government were altruistic, if the government was genuine about healthcare infrastructure in this country, then naturally I would support the government at, when the government tried to disrupt the people that wanted to leave the country, the doctors that wanted to leave the country. Even though it is against their right for you to prevent them from going to wherever they want to go to. But then you must provide that alternative. What they are going to lose by not going to Saudi Arabia, you must be able to provide these things here. When some of us watched the last Olympics, we saw how did we feel when we saw people, Nigerians, people with Nigerian names who should be flying Nigerian flags, performing so well for other countries and flying the flags of other countries. Do you think that if you were to ask those people whether they would have wanted to make these achievements on behalf of Nigeria, they would not have wanted if conditions were right? You understand? But the conditions were not right. They were treated shabbily. And that is the way the rest of us citizens are treated. What of the schools? How many of their children go to school? We keep on talking about the same thing, and we know the solution. Once you stop these people from going abroad, our hospitals must work. When the president will not be allowed to leave this country, he will equip at least one or two, top hospitals in this country so that he can get treatment. The president doesn't want to die. The governors do not want to die. The elites do not want to die. So they make sure that these things will work also for their own purposes. This is part of the problem. So it is sad. And look, if you do a survey of Nigerians, they want the doctors to come back, to go back to work. But they will not want the doctors to go back to work if their demands are not met.
All right.
Because it is only when their demands are met. What are they talking? It's not just about compensation. It's also about equipping the hospital so that they will be in a better position to better treat the people of this country.
All right.
That's what they're asking for. They're not asking for too much. And they had agreements. Most importantly, each of the 4 times that they have gone on strike and had to go back on strike again, it is because the government violated the agreements, the bilateral agreements, the agreements that they had with the doctors. So the doctors have no choice.
Okay.
What they are saying is, live up to your words, live up to what you signed.
Okay. Let's read some messages.
What is too much there?
Let's read some messages on Achike. Achike says, this present APC government has failed woefully. The situation seems unredeemable. All of us shouting on social media should go to INEC, register and collect our PVCs. 2023 is around the corner. And about the situation of insecurity, if you cast your mind a couple of months back, the president spoke about foreigners being responsible for the insecurity. Currently, I've not seen one foreigner persecuted for crimes in the north. Out of all the surrendered Boko boys, how many of them are being deported? What we hear is reintegration into society. It's really funny and weird what is going on. That's what James says. Ella says, I called my cousin who resides in Jos this morning, and she was telling me that the situation is all shades of bad. They can't access the markets, food stuff has increased, schools are closed, they live with held or bated breath every single day and pray to see the next day. I thank your guests and other Nigerians that are speaking up for us that have no voice, but why are the reps not doing anything? What are their roles towards curbing insecurity? Someone is asking that. Basil says, our problem is with the process that brings people into governance. We simply have the wrong people which we presumably did not choose, and so we keep going round the round. Governor Zulum is not doing something. Okay, he says, I've listened to your interviews with your guests on many occasions. My understanding is that he's always blaming the president with an allusion that the government is not doing anything, the armed forces not doing enough, yet these men die every day in the course of the war. I think we should encourage the military and government and not condemn at all times. Families have failed in their responsibility. All these crimes are committed by own brothers and sisters. Okay, says it has started in the Ogun area of River State, and yet no one is taking responsibility before it gets out of hand. Imam Ataka said, maybe the people sponsoring this insecurity are waiting for the worst before they let the people be. Insecurity will continue until these men are declared terrorists. And even when they are declared terrorists, what happens? Is the declaration enough? Section 11 of the Constitution amended empowers State Assembly to legislate for security of their states. 215 sub 4 empowers state governors to give lawful directives to CP as he deemed necessary for maintenance of peace and security within their respective states. How true, according to Achike, that no one controls any security agencies when the law states otherwise? I want to find out from him. If attack on NDA, although condemnable, means FG has lost grip of Nigeria's security, does the attack on Pentagon in US years ago stipulate same of the US government then? Achike?
Yes.
Oh, you didn't hear the questions.
No. I think it said something about the control of the security forces.
Yes, in the state.
I think it's a federal law now. It's in the hands of the federal government. If it's a police, the Inspector General of Police, of course, who is answerable to the president of this country. The Inspector General of Police does not answer to the governor. And the commissioners of police, are said to be chief security officer in the state, but without executive powers over the Nigerian police. So they can decide, and a commissioner of police can decide not to listen to the instruction of the governor. So that is the way it is. So until that's why people are talking about state police. If the police were completely under the control of a governor, you won't be talking so much about state police.
Okay.
It is because the governor has no control. And for the person who said something about always wanting to blame the president, the buck must stop somewhere. If you are the MD of a company that is running aground,
we can't be blaming Chude, right?
And the country was moved from profitability to loss. And who would you hold? Are you going to hold the security man or the accountant? So you must hold somebody first.
Okay.
And that is the MD of the company, because he is supposed to have a supervisory role over all the other branches or sectors of that company. So that is the issue. But as for our men, I have always commended the bravery and the courage of our soldiers who are dying needlessly. Don't forget that. I still believe that our soldiers and our troops are the best, or used to be the best in the world. In the African continent, and one of the best in the world when it comes to ground forces. What we have done in other parts of the world is testimony to the resilience of the average Nigerian spirit, especially as exhibited by our soldiers in war fronts or conflict areas. So they have done exceedingly well, but they are walking against the tide. They are swimming against the tide. Some of them do not have adequate weaponry. We have seen that several times on the pages of newspapers, in the news, and so many other basic necessities that they like. Allowances are not being paid. So how can soldiers who are not well motivated, soldiers who are also afraid that if anything happens to them, their families will suffer? Is that how modern soldiers are treated?
Okay. Achike, final question.
So these are some of the constraints that our troops have. And then there is the issue of infiltration. The recent interview by Commodore Naomi is also very, very revealing that there are certain elements within the countries, the architecture of the political architecture of this country that are sympathetic to Boko Haram. And he was insinuating that government knows. So we don't know.
Even Matawale said something in that line as well. But final question, Achike, we've run out of time. If the government continues in this way to respond to national issues, where would that lead us?
Look, you know what I would have suggested, and again, for anybody, it will be uncharitable for anybody to say that we're criticizing the president. The president has to be presidential in a matter of national, emergency that we're in. You would expect the president to come and talk to Nigerians solely on the issue of insecurity in the country, talking about the various theaters of operation, now not to talk about operational, activities of the military, so that you don't give out any, but to assure Nigerians, to tell Nigerians in practical terms what are being done.
Okay.
The problem, for instance, that Joe Biden is having in the United States is lack of communication and the fact that they were not strategic, that they did not plan their withdrawal well. Americans had already resolved that their troops should be brought back home. But it is the manner of withdrawal that has led to the embarrassment that the United States as a nation is facing today. And its image has been diminished in the world because of that. So it is about a president coming to talk to the people. Because the president knowing, and he calls out the people of Benue, calls out the people who have been hard hit just, and so on, and tells them that he knows what is going on, and that they are working on it. Let us see the president with the governors of these states surrounding him, to know that they are all they're speaking with one. So that photo op is good because people are looking at them and they are saying, look, these people are sync. They are together.
Yeah.
They are together in sync. You understand? And they're speaking to one another.
All right.
But there's so much disparity in the country, and it is not right. And the president needs to play a leading role. And who doesn't want it to succeed? If he succeeds for every single one of us. If he falls, we all fall with him because he's the president of Nigeria.
All right, Achike, thank you for your time. We have to let that final question go. If it continues like this, where would that lead us as a country? My name is Enoch Beviru. Keep our eyes on the ball, and we'll keep talking. Good morning.